Welcome to the Yong Heng Hot Rod Shop.
As my lovely assistant pointed out, we are in the Yong Heng Hot Rod Shop, and this is my star today. We're going to take a look at this build and how I outfitted my Yong Heng compressor, which the initial first compressor I had, truth be told, was a clone. And it lasted 3 years, lived a pretty easy life. I would fill every now and then. It probably ran maybe 100 hours. And it finally gave up the ghost and blew up. And we're going to cover repairing that unit in this series. We're also going to talk about the improvements that I made to keep it cool on this unit. We're going to look at some experiments on how to monitor and improve your Yong Heng compressor and get the most happiest life out of it. So with that, let's get this cover off and take a look under the hood. As many of you may be aware, hot rod mystique is very steeped in American history. It goes back to the 50s and 60s when guys were trying to get out there and modify these old jalopies that they would pick up for cheap and try to go as fast, as hard as they could with these cars. They would put engines in them, make them go faster. They'd take them out to the salt flats, see what top speed they could get. They invented drag racing, all manner of tomfoolery involved with getting the most out of the vehicles that they were playing with. And that's not too different than what we're going to do here with these guys. We're going to have some fun and see how far we can push these Yong Hengs. Now, I got to warn everybody, don't do what I do just for the sake of thinking that it's safe or anything else. This is a compressor made in China. They don't have the best quality control. The design is not really good. And you're messing with air at 4,500 PSI. So this is my chance at a disclaimer here. I'm doing this for entertainment purposes and sharing with you my journey on living with a Yong Heng compressor and a Yong Heng clone, and how I'm going to graft a Yong Heng clone with some real Yong Heng parts that I bought on the interwebs and see what kind of a union comes out of that. That should be very entertaining. But for right now, let's take a fly around this guy and see what it's got under the hood. So we'll start off with this tank right here. This tank is a 2.5 gallon aluminum Dragster fuel tank. These are made in China, like most of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, unfortunately. They're inexpensive. I was able to get it on Amazon for very little money. Put some very important stickers on here. Each one of these stickers is good for about 2 or 3 horsepower, especially this one right here. Airgun Nation, been super to us. FX Impact, of course, one day I hope to be a Daystate customer as well. Anyway, this tank has distilled water with water wetter in it. And I'll show a picture of that on the screen right now. Water wetter it just increases the performance of the cooling system by making sure that the water gets better contact to the metal parts. So water gets pumped by a submersible pump inside this fuel tank through this radiator. And this radiator is literally a Chevrolet kind of generic heater core that I got on a surplus automotive parts place. A Muffin fan forcing some air through it. Water gets cycled through there, comes up through this flow meter so that we can measure the water flow through the system as we go through these tests. And comes up here. This is a temperature sensor that in a very few minutes we're going to actually take a look at how I made these temperature sensors that allow the water to flow through and get a temperature value. Through the head of the Yong Heng and out We've got inlet water temperature, outlet water temperature. We have temperature of the water in the tank, and we have temperature in the stock location on the head right here. And all of those readings are right here. Head, inlet, outlet, tank, or outlet temperature and tank temperature. This is our flow measurement right here. It shows us the water flow in gallons per minute, and I apologize, everything is in standard units. That's the way my brain works. I'm going to apologize a couple of times for it, but that's just the way it is. And here we have the heart of this whole thing, which is a Yong Heng compressor. This is a genuine Yong Heng, and we've named her the Wong Way because the Yong Heng is the Wong way to go. Just kidding. Anyway, I took out the temperature gauge out of here and I put it in an hour meter. As you can see, this unit has 1.7 hours on it. This pump has had a hard life. It arrived smashed in the box. I got it on Amazon really cheap because it was damaged goods. This apparatus right here is not really secured to the frame very well. It had a broken capacitor that we have to change out. I taped the one up that came with it, but it is working and I have been filling bottles with it, so I can't really complain. I will tell you that initially when I first conceived this was phase one, just to get it working and get it operating so that it could operate basically continuously and not have to stop, because I am filling rather large bottles like this one right here. This is a Great White from Joe Brancato. And I got so much flack over this dang water separator because when I originally made this, I had it horizontally because it fit right here so well. And I got so, every time I would post a picture of this, they'd say, wow, great looking frame, but you mounted the air dryer the wrong way. And I never had an issue with it. 3.5 years operating this thing, I never had a problem. But anyway, rather than get 80 million more comments, I decided to go vertical with my water separator. This has got a molecular sieve charge in it. These right here from Amazon. And these are all my spare parts, by the way, for the Yong Heng. And turns out you need a lot of spare parts when you're a Yong Heng owner. At least I found, anyway. Well, I can't say that. My clone was actually pretty good. It lasted quite a while. And it'll live again. But that is the system as we have it right here. And I don't have any empty bottles right now, but I'm sure in the course of this video series, we will fill some tanks and see how it goes and watch our temperatures. I do have some images to show of a fill underway. We can take a look at those. You can see all the pretty lights and the flow rate that we're getting. A couple of the experiments that I do want to do with this are, I've seen comments that these clone fittings don't flow as much water as the 90-degree Yong Heng fittings. So, hey, I've got a flow meter. I've got temperature monitoring. We can actually look at the performance of that water flow through the system while it's operating. So we're going to test that theory. One thing I will caution you, if you look at flow meters on Amazon, is to get one that's sized appropriately for the job. I can tell you that the very first flow meter I had, and we'll take a walk over here and look at it. This one here was meant for regular hose bib type connections. This is a 3/4 for a 3/4 pipe. And this one was meant to measure flows of a much higher volume than what the Yong Heng system can flow at. So the result was really terrible measuring accuracy because we were so down in the bottom in the mud of that measurement that we just never got really good data off this sensor. So that's why this sensor's not in there anymore. It was originally built with this, but when I actually started measuring flow, I had this hooked up to an oscilloscope and the signal was literally awful. So that's how we ended up with this flow sensor. And right now, we're going to take a really quick look in this first episode of the Yong Heng Hot Rod Shop we're going to take a look at how to make up these nice little temperature sensors so that you can monitor this stuff too. And we'll have links to all of these goodies, at least the ones that I can remember, in the description of this video. So join us as we start this odyssey called the Yong Heng Hot Rod Shop. And I don't know whether it's considered a sponsored video because the company is my own, but this is brought to you by Target Forge. And if you really love air guns, come take a look at all of the really cool Target products that we offer for you to unload all of this compressed air on. You'll have a heck of a lot of fun, I guarantee it. And let's get on with the show and take a look at how to make some temp sensors. Here's how to make a really quick improvised water temperature sensor. This I'm going to use for demonstration purposes. This is one of the really inexpensive temperature thermometers that comes with the Yong Heng or its clones or whatever. A lot of these compressors come with these. There's much better ones on Amazon with color displays and stuff like that that I used on when I built my Yong Heng Hot Rod. But for the purpose of this, it really doesn't matter as long as this tip fits inside a T-shaped water fitting. So what we're going to do initially is we're going to get something to block this hole so that when we insert this down to bond it, we don't obstruct the water flow. So what I did was I just took a chopstick and I shaved it with a pocket knife just along its length until I could get it inserted snug just past that hole. You can see it down in there. Get it just right. Anyway, it's just going to keep that from going too far in and obstructing the water flow. So what we're going to do is we're going to, this is ultra black Permatex. This is a hot rod shop, so I just happen to have this, but at these temperature ranges, you really don't need any elaborate silicone. Any silicone is going to work in this temperature range. It's going to be just fine. So we're just going to shoot some of this down inside of there. And we're going to insert this right in there, all the way down until it touches. And then I'm going to take something it's easy to clean up, like these tweezers, and I'm just going to seal the end of this good with some of the silicone that pushed out. The seal's already happened. The seal is already around that barrel of that sensor. This is just really creating a little bit of a strain relief for this wire. Nothing real important here. Anyway, that's it. Super simple. I leave the stick in there until it's done curing, and then I'll pull it out. That way I don't move anything around. But you just want to make sure this is all the way up against that stick so that the tip of that sensor is actually gets exposed to the water. And I know that the silicone is going to insulate it somewhat, but all that's going to affect is how quickly it reacts, not necessarily how accurately it reacts. So that's it for the super quick and easy improvised water temperature sensor. And this is 5/16 tubing size for this barb tubing. You can use whatever you want. You can go bigger and try and get more flow, but the bottom line is the fittings that go into the Yong Heng stock are roughly 5/16 diameter fittings. So that's what we're going to use. I will say the clones do use a smaller tubing, and it's tough to get these fittings on the clone tubing, but we're going to do some tests later that require these temperatures, and we're going to want to know the difference between clone fittings and genuine Yong Heng fittings. All right, thanks for watching. One other quick note. You do want to make sure you let these cure before you put them into service. And if we want to make this clean, I'm just going to come around and get that silicone off the brass while it's still wet. And put these aside. Let them dry overnight. There's no need to rush this. Your air gun can wait. But that's it. Really cheap 5/16 brass tees on Amazon, and your temperature sensor. Just make sure that the sensor you buy has an end sensor that will fit inside the tee that you intend to use. And you're good to go. Here it is the next day, all nice and cured. Just going to pull this bamboo out of there. And there we have it. Nice clear hole through there. Tip of our sensor right up against the water. This guy's good to go. Don't forget, folks, if you like this episode of the Yong Heng Hot Rod Shop, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because you want to catch up with the series as we roll these out down the road. We're going to take a look at some really cool stuff in the future. So I hope you're with us, and have an awesome day, and don't forget to be a light in the darkness. Have fun.